Hello everybody, my name is Ilya,
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
and today we'll be teaching you how to play Great Western Trail El Paso.
Great Western Trail El Paso is designed by Alexander Pfister and Johannes Krenner. It's published by Lookout Games, who helps sponsor this video.
Let's get to the table and let's learn how to play. As always, you'll begin by setting up. You'll place the game board in the middle of the table and place the neutral tiles and El Paso tile on their corresponding spaces. If this is your first game, you'll match the letters on the tiles to the spaces on the board. For future games, you can place these tiles randomly, with the exception of the El Paso tile, which will always need to be on its space. You'll place all the train cards by the game board, using the front side, one without the star. The star cards can be used once you're more familiar with the game. You'll then shuffle and place the objective and bonus tiles near the train, and draw 3 from each stack face up. This is called the train supply. You'll continue by setting up the cattle board, placing the stack of cow cards next to each space as marked on the board. You'll do the same for the building board, making sure all the tiles are flipped up to their A side and matching their space. You can use any of the tiles for their B side once you're more familiar with the game. You'll then place the 4 stacks of workers near the game board, creating the worker supply. You'll place coins and exchange tokens in piles within reach of all players. And finally, place a number of Simmental cattle cards on their space on the game board corresponding to your player count. 9 for 2 players, 14 for 3, and 19 cattle cards for 4 players. You're now ready for player setup. Each player will take a player board, 1 worker of each type, which they'll place below their player board, which will be referred to as your worker area. You'll then choose a color and take 7 discs covering the marked spaces on your player board, 1 certificate marker, which you'll place on the 0 space on your board, and 2 property markers and a herder meeple, which you'll place next to your player board. You'll then take a set of 10 player cattle cards. Each player will have the same 10. You'll shuffle your herd deck and draw 4 cards into your hand. You'll now choose a starting player. They'll select one of the face-up objective tiles. Going clockwise, the remaining players will do the same. Each player will then collect their starting resources based on the order of play, and you're now ready to play. El Paso is played over multiple turns. Well, you'll move your herder to a new location, activate a variety of abilities corresponding to that location, and deliver your cattle cards to the trading post in El Paso, all in hopes of scoring the most victory points by the end of the game. On your turn, you'll complete 3 phases: move, action, and draw. Let's go over them. On your very first move phase, you'll place your herder in any neutral locations on the board. You cannot choose a location owned by another player or El Paso. On the following turns in this phase, you'll pick up your herder and move them at least 1 space forward. The maximum amount of spaces you can move is shown on your player board. You'll start with 3, but later in the game this can be increased to 4 permanently. The moves you take must follow the arrows on the board. Each location tile is counted as a step. Empty locations are simply skipped over. You can occupy the same space as other herders, and you can move over any location tiles with the exception of El Paso. Once at El Paso, you must stop. That's the move phase. You'll now proceed to the action phase. Here, you'll use the location where you've placed your herder. There are 3 possible cases. First, if you place on a neutral building or a common building with your property marker, you can use either all of the depicted actions or use 1 auxiliary action. Now, auxiliary actions are found on your player board. They're also represented by this symbol. In the beginning of the game, you'll only have 2 available to you. Gain 1 coin and draw a card from your herd deck and discard a card from your hand. As the game progresses, you'll be able to unlock additional abilities such as gaining certificates and removing any cattle card from your hand from the game. You'll also be able to strengthen the abilities mentioned earlier, receiving more coins and having the ability to draw and discard an additional time. Now back to the locations. That's 1 choice, using the location's ability or 1 auxiliary action. If you land on a common building with another player's property marker, your only option is to use 1 auxiliary action. And lastly, if you land on El Paso, your herder must stop their movement and carry out the depicted actions on the tile. Now speaking of actions, let's go through some iconography to give you an idea of what you can expect from the game. Each location may have multiple actions. You can activate as many of them as you wish once, in any order, as long as the location is a common location or one of your own. You can additionally always choose to activate 1 auxiliary action instead. Let's go over the actions in order of the letters. B. You'll encounter this icon frequently. What it means is you can discard the corresponding cattle card, Galloway in this case, for the amount of coins listed on the card. 2 in this case. You'll discard this card into your own personal discard pile. This is also the location where you're able to hire workers. You can hire any worker for 5 coins, or you can hire 2 different workers for 13 coins. If any of the workers you hire are wild, you'll additionally need to pay 4 more coins. Each worker you purchase will be added to your worker area. They can be discarded at any time to receive their worker bonus, which are gaining coins, buying certificates, and moving an additional step on your turn in the move phase. These workers are also ready to be utilized for specific actions, which we'll discuss shortly. C. Here, you'll gain 2 coins and 1 certificate. We'll explain certificates when we talk about El Paso. D. Here you'll be able to discard your Pinewood cattle card for 2 coins, buy an exchange token for 1 coin. An exchange token can be utilized at any point on your turn to draw a cattle card from your deck and discard one from your hand. You'll discard the exchange token after use. The other action you can take here is buying cattle card from the cattle market. You'll choose 1 cattle card and discard the required number of cowboys from your worker area, making sure to pay 2 coins for each worker discarded. After doing so, you'll add the cattle card face up to your discard pile. If you don't have a cowboy or a wild worker, you cannot take this action. E. Here you'll be able to discard 1 Santa Gertrudis cattle card for 2 coins, and this is also where you can purchase a common building. You'll choose 1 common building and discard the required number of builders from your worker area, making sure to pay 2 coins for each builder discarded. You'll then place the building you chose on any empty building space on the board, sometimes paying a cost if present. You'll then place one of your property markers on the building. You can own at most 2 buildings throughout the game. Alternatively, you can use this action to replace one of the buildings you already have on the main board. The building you replace with has to be of a higher cost, but you'll only discard and pay the builders equal to the difference between the building you're building and the one you're replacing. F. Here you'll use 1 auxiliary action and you can use the train. You'll choose 1 train card, discard the required number of engineers from your worker area, paying 2 coins for each discarded, and carry out the actions listed on the card in any order. Here is where you'll be able to acquire bonus and objective tiles. Bonus tiles provide immediate and ongoing benefits, while objective tiles give you points at the end of the game. Lastly, I'll bring to your attention the last train card. Here you'll receive 3 certificates, gain a tile of your choice, and move your herder at least 1 step to a maximum of 2, unless you utilize a cowboy worker, of course. Once moved, you'll take the action on the space you've landed on. This is one of the few ways you'll be able to take 2 actions in the same turn. Lastly, G is pretty simple. You'll get an exchange token and use 1 auxiliary action. The common buildings that populate the board will all have similar iconography. The ones I'll quickly point out are the exception. This icon lets you hire any worker for free. This one grants you a Corriente cattle card for free. And this one lets you discard any cattle card in your hand to gain double the value of its breeding value in coins. If you're seeking additional clarity, check out the appendix. Now let's talk about El Paso. As a reminder, you can never pass over El Paso, and you must always stop your herder at this tile and complete the actions. You'll first take 5 coins from the bank. Then, 1 Cimental cattle card from the face-up deck, which you'll place in your own discard pile. And lastly, you'll deliver your cattle. You'll reveal your entire hand to determine your total breeding value. You'll do this by adding up the value of each different type of cattle that you have. This means each type is only counted once. Now there is an exception. If you have this bonus tile, you may add 1 duplicate cattle card to your total. And this is where you'll use your certificates. You may spend as many certificates as you have, optionally, to increase your total breeding value by the same amount. You may even have a permanent certificate as a bonus tile, which means you'll always add at least 1. Once you have your total breeding value, you'll choose 1 disc from your player board and place it on the trading post. Each space on the trading post has a minimum value. If other player discs are already present there, you can place your disc on top. You can always occupy the same space as other players. You cannot, however, place multiple of your discs in the same space, with the exception of space 0, 12, and 16. Now you'll notice some discs on your player board have darkened corners on them. These can only be placed on the corresponding spaces on the trading post. Placing a disc from your player board onto the trading post unlocks various abilities or improves auxiliary actions. The last thing I'll mention here is that if any spaces have a negative coin value next to them, you'll need to pay that back to the supply. While if the amount is positive, you'll gain the coins. Lastly, to complete your El Paso visit, you'll place all the cattle cards you've revealed into your discard pile. After you've moved your herder and have completed your action, you'll finish your turn with a draw phase. If you have fewer cards than your hand size, which starts at 4 but can be upgraded to 5, you'll draw until you have the cards equal to your hand limit. Now if you draw a worker, you'll immediately place them in your worker area and draw again. Your hand should only consist of cattle cards. It's now the next player's turn. You'll keep playing, moving your herders, fine-tuning your cattle deck, increasing your amount of worker cards, collecting various objective and bonus tiles, and making your important stops in El Paso, all to score the most points. The game end will trigger when the last Simmental cattle card is taken from the game board. When this happens, the game continues until the next player reaches El Paso. Instead of taking a Simmental cattle card, their worker will be placed where the cattle cards used to be. After completing the El Paso actions, the game ends for that player. Each other player will now receive one final turn, after which you're ready to score. You'll first score 1 point for every 5 coins you have. You'll score victory points for any buildings you own, for each of your player discs in the trading post. You'll then tally all the victory points on all your worker and cattle cards, and add up the points from your bonus and objective tiles. An important reminder here, each item in this game can only be attributed to one objective. If an objective requires the same item, you can only attribute each item to one objective. You'll add up your points, and the player with the most wins.
And that's Great Western Trail El Paso.
Do you have any questions? Leave them in the comments down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
And of course, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, because we love talking, chatting, and teaching board games.
And for our question of the day, you have a pet cow. It is fluffy. Maybe it's not fluffy, but what do you name it?
Ooh, I don't know what I would name it.
Dorothy.
Dorothy? That's a good name. That
Dot.
makes me think I should name it Betsy.
Betsy and Dot.
Yeah.
The best of cow friends.
Hey.
Well, let us know in the comments down below, and we will catch you at the next one.
Bye.